Welcome back, everybody. It's Rama from Junk Journal Divas. Today I want to make some of these textured papers that are a lot of fun to use. This one I'm calling paper chenille, and I forget who I saw make this, but I will look at my previous video making them and I will put it in the video description. So this looks kind of crazy when you're just looking at a full page of it, but usually I just cut a little piece. I've used it at the bottom of something to kind of look like grass. And I will show you, this is a book that I'm currently working on, and I used a piece of the paper chenille underneath here. So this is a tag book that I'm currently working on now, but you can see it just adds a lot of texture, and I'm all about texture in whatever I'm making. I love different things and that tactile experience also. Other examples, these are tag books that I made for Halloween, and I'll show you. I used a lot of paper lace, which I'm going to show you next. Let's see, another page here. I'm all about using different textures, so it's kind of hard to see, but there's a lot of different fun layers here. Textured paper here. And then I used some on this tag. Let's see, and then this one, this one opens this way. I used some on the cover. There's some here. Whole bunch here. This was great for Halloween, huh? Just to give some idea, so you're not using a whole thing of it, just a little piece, and it just makes it more interesting. So I'm going to show you how I made these today. I'm going to make this one in my video and show you the process of making this. So you're basically going to get, I'd say, 3 different papers, and you just put them together. I put a tiny bit of glue just to hold them before I use my sewing machine. I usually like to add 1 book page because I like the text. If you have some thin paper that has color on both sides is good to use, or a thin scrapbook paper, something. And then I've got paper towel on the top of this one that I used for my dyed papers. Tissue paper is also fun to use. But you see, like this piece on the top here, it's white on the other side, which is okay depending on how where I use it, but it kind of looks better, I think, if you use double-sided paper. Also, if you put the thickest page on the bottom, because you actually don't want to poke through the bottom. If you do, it's not a big deal. I pretty much always poke through. When see here, I kind of cut accidentally, so no big deal. You can fix it when you're gluing it down. So this is a piece of one that I did not pull apart all of the layers. So let me see, I've got a map in here. I've got a book page, and I just rip them like this. I'll rip it and fold them down, going different directions. This top page is one of my dyed papers, so if you can kind of see the layers here. This one's really nice and colorful. I know for this one I had these pieces of paper. What is this? 6x6, like scrapbook paper. So I just put a couple of those together. This brownish green one is like a textured paper. And then this is like packing paper underneath. And I used those same papers here, just different colors. So this is really nice and colorful. Perfect palette also for what I'm working on right now. So this one, so you can see it has a different look to it if you don't add the text. This just has, let's see, tissue paper. This is avocado dyed paper on top. I have some tea dyed paper towel and packing paper on the bottom. It's a little softer. And here's another one. I've got avocado dyed paper towel and paper. Looks like tea dyed paper, and I did a lot of cutting through here by accident. This might be my favorite that I have right now. I've used a lot of them, but you can see I like adding the book page. And avocado dyed paper towel and just the different colored papers here. So again, I'm going to show you how I made these, and it's just fun to play with it and explore what it looks like, because you can see they look different depending on what papers you use. Then I want to show you the paper lace. I unfortunately don't have a lot of great examples of this right now because I used it in a lot of my makes, but so here is one. I just put a bunch of extra threads on, and I'm going to show you making this one today. So for this one, you can either sew them together. I usually just use two papers. This one you want thin papers for this, because you want it to kind of disintegrate a little bit and tear. So again, I'll show you how I did this one. This is another one that I also put these random threads on top. And a green one. This is a piece left over. Now this one, I know you're not going to be able to see really well, but it has little bits of, it's like a baby blue or this blue color. And what I had used was this vintage encyclopedia page, and it had photos, but the photos were very muted colors, and this is what I got from that. Another one that I used. Now when I use this, I'll probably break up this area in here, and you can see, depending on the sewing pattern, like this one I did a grid pattern. On these I just sewed in a messy and then circles, just very sporadic and messy sewing. So this is what I'm going to show you today, and I would love to hear, if you try it, what you discovered along the way, because you know how that goes. You get inspired to try something and then you think of ideas of your own and add to it. So it's just fun to share, and that's pretty much why I love doing this, and I have my channel. So leave a comment if you have other ideas or you try this. And so let's get started making some. So the first papers I have here, I put a tiny bit of glue just to hold them together, but I've got a paper towel. I've got this scrapbook paper, and this is just a random piece of paper. This one, and then the last one is a really thin piece of paper. So there's 4 layers here. So I'm going to put this into my machine, and I'm just going to do a whole bunch of rows. So I'm just going to go up and down the whole way till I get to the top. Next, I'm just going to go around. I'm going to make a border around it. So this is what I have. The next one here, I have 3 layers. I have this double-sided thin paper, some paper towel, and this is a piece of scrapbook paper, one-sided, that is quite thin. Thin papers definitely work better for the paper lace. So for the paper lace, it is just randomly sewing. I'm just doing messy sewing here. Now I want to eventually start to overlap on my lines. Okay, so you can see this makes just randomly messy sewing. You can see the other side here, easier to see with the white side. Okay, I've got a bowl of just warm water, and this is super important. Do not dump this down your drain. I dump it down my toilet. I hope that's okay, or you can strain it, and because you don't want to get the pulp in your drain, it will clog. My paper with the messy sewing, and I'm literally just going to dunk it down in here. And I wring it out almost like it was a dish towel. Now, the thinner papers are much better than this. Much better when you're doing this, because you want the tears. So I'm just going to kind of work it with my fingers down in here. So you can see the pulp starting to, the paper pulp here. And you can make this as messy as you want. I'm going to wring it out. So this is what it looks like. And you can just kind of go through with your fingers when it's soft. If you use paper that is not tearing, you can just take it and kind of do this with it, like you would wash clothes. So see, that kind of gets it going. So I am going to stop here, and we're just going to let it dry. Now, instead of dunking the whole thing down in water, which I think is a bit faster, but you can also just use a spray bottle, which I'm going to try here. And just make sure that you wet it on both sides. And then I'm going to kind of do the same thing instead. Well, I won't have to wring it out, but I just kind of rub it together to get it going. And here's a close-up when it's still wet, so I'm going to let this one dry. And I'm going to try the same exact thing for this other one that I did. Just spray it so that I am saturating both sides of it with my spray bottle. And here's a look at it close up when it's still wet. Okay, so for the next technique here, I've got this one. And what we're going to do, I'm going to start off with my stitch remover thingy. And this, to start off, it's a little bit tricky because I don't want to puncture the very last page. So for this one, it's okay to use a thicker page on the bottom. Start off, now see here where I closed it up is kind of a row. Maybe if it would be easier to see if I start here. I'm just going to start at the very end here. I might have to pick this up kind of get in there. And I just want to get this up. Now the paper towel, sometimes you can just take this, if it's paper, and you'll see with the next layer, and you can just go the whole way down. But the paper towel, it's just going to kind of pull it at where I stitched here, and I don't really want that. I want it to open up in the middle so I can kind of, you know, pull it to the side. So now that I made my tear, I'm going to get my scissors in there and cut it. Now I can try to get that next layer. See, I went through to the very back, but that's okay, because once I poke through, I can just kind of figure out where that one layer is. And then once you get it, see there, I got it. Now you can see it just kind of goes straight back. So once you have your layer figured out, it's smooth sailing. So then I'm just going to kind of take these and randomly tear and just kind of fold it, make it messier looking. I'm going to open up some more of these, and then once I have them opened up, then we can kind of go and talk about, you know, distressing it a little bit more. Guys, I know it probably looks like I'm going to stab my fingers, but you'll get the feel of it when you're holding it in your hand, and you can kind of manipulate, you know, your tools that you're using. But definitely be careful, because you don't want to poke yourself. So this is 4 rows that are completed. See, now I've got my scissors. I think it's under all the layers except for the very last one. And if you do poke through to the back, don't worry if there's a little hole. Of course, this is messy anyway. Once I get my scissors in there, I'm good to go. Okay, so all my cuts have been made, and now it's just a matter of distressing it as much as you want. And I don't really think about what I'm doing here. I just kind of tear some, fold them back. So here's an example, and then you can go back and distress it more if you like. So if you like this video, please leave me a comment and give me a thumbs up. I would appreciate it. And I hope I inspired you to try making these and adding them to your projects. Thanks for watching.